The waitress worked 2 jobs to support her mother until a new millionaire customer proposed to her. The clink of coins in Olivia's pocket echoed like a constant reminder of her reality. Her hurried footsteps resounded on the concrete sidewalks of Portland, Oregon, as she hurried to her second shift of the day. The cool air of the fall evening could barely relieve the fatigue that weighed on her shoulders. Olivia Brennan, 28, was no stranger to hard work. Since her mother, Lauren, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 3 years ago, Olivia had taken on the responsibility of supporting them both. Endless days as a waitress at the cozy Cafe Evergreen during the day and the elegant Sapphire restaurant at night had become her routine. Upon entering Sapphire, Olivia quickly straightened her uniform and tied her wavy brown hair into a neat bun. The maitre d', Mr. Anderson gave her an approving look as she picked up her order pad. "Table 7, Olivia. VIP customer," murmured Mr. Anderson, indicating with his head a solitary man sitting in a discreet corner of the restaurant. Olivia nodded, straightening her shoulders and putting on her best professional smile. She approached the table with soft steps, observing the man who seemed absorbed in his thoughts. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Sapphire. Can I offer you something to drink?" Olivia asked, her melodious voice interrupting the customer's musings. The man looked up, and Olivia felt momentarily breathless. Intense blue eyes stared at her with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. He looked about 40 with gray hair at his temples that gave him a distinctive look. His impeccable suit and the luxury watch on his wrist screamed wealth. But there was something in his gaze that conveyed a palpable loneliness. "Good evening," he replied, his voice deep and smooth. "An 18-year-old Macallan, please." "Neat." Olivia took his order, impressed by the refined choice. "Excellent choice, sir. I'll be back in a moment with your drink." As she walked away, Olivia couldn't help but notice the man's gaze following her. There was something different about him, an energy that intrigued her and, at the same time, made her uncomfortable. Returning with the whiskey, Olivia poured it with grace. "Here you are, sir. Would you like to place your order now, or would you prefer a few more minutes?" The man smiled, a gesture that brightened his tired face. "Actually, I'd like your recommendation. What do you suggest?" Olivia blinked, surprised. VIP clients rarely asked for her opinion. "Well, the filet mignon with red wine reduction and wild mushrooms is exceptional. But if you prefer something lighter, the grilled salmon with fresh herb sauce is a great option." "I'll trust your judgment. I'll bring the filet mignon, please," he decided, handing back the menu. "Great choice. I'll be back soon with your order." Olivia smiled, stepping aside to deliver it to the kitchen. As the evening progressed, Olivia found herself returning to table 7 more often than necessary. The man, who introduced himself as Nathan Hawthorne, was a fascinating conversationalist. Between plates and drinks, they exchanged a few words about literature, art, and travel. Olivia discovered that he was a successful tech entrepreneur, but there was a melancholy in his eyes that intrigued her. Towards the end of her shift, Olivia approached to clear Nathan's desk. "I hope you enjoyed your meal, Mr. Hawthorne." "It was extraordinary, as was the service," Nathan replied, his gaze fixed on her. "And please, call me Nathan." Olivia felt her cheeks blush slightly. "Thank you, Nathan. I'm glad you enjoyed it." There was a pause, a moment of silence charged with something indefinable. Nathan seemed about to say something more, but hesitated. Finally, he spoke. "Olivia, I don't want to sound improper, but would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? As a customer, not as a waitress." The proposal took Olivia by surprise. Her heart raced, a mixture of excitement and apprehension coursing through her veins. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately, intrigued by this mysterious and charming man. But the rational part of her mind sounded the alarm. I don't know if it would be appropriate," Olivia stammered, her mind racing to find a polite excuse. Nathan smiled gently, sensing her discomfort. "I completely understand. It was bold of me to ask. Please forget I mentioned it." Olivia felt a twinge of regret when she saw the disappointment in his eyes. "No, it's not that. It's just that I have responsibilities, commitments." "Your mother?" Nathan asked softly. Olivia stared at him in surprise. How? You mentioned taking care of her earlier, when we were talking about family, Nathan explained. Olivia, I have no intention of complicating your life. I just thought that, well, that we had a connection. But I completely respect your decision. Olivia's internal conflict intensified. There was something about Nathan that attracted her, a kindness behind his successful businessman facade. And it had been so long since she had allowed herself any kind of distraction or personal pleasure. You know what? Yes, Olivia heard herself say, almost surprised by her own words. I'd love to have dinner with you, Nathan. Nathan's face lit up with a genuine smile. Wonderful. Can I pick you up tomorrow at 7? Or would you rather we met somewhere? Olivia hesitated for a moment, but something in her gut told her she could trust him. You can pick me up. I'll give you my address. As they exchanged contact information, Olivia felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. It was a change in her routine, a deviation from the carefully plotted path she had followed for years. That evening, when Olivia arrived home, she found her mother, Lauren, watching television in the living room of their small apartment. How was work, dear? Lauren asked, her tired face lighting up at her daughter's arrival. Olivia hesitated for a moment before answering. It was interesting, Mom. Actually, something unusual happened. As Olivia told her about Nathan and the dinner invitation, she watched a mixture of emotions pass across her mother's face. Concern, curiosity, and, finally, an encouraging smile. Oh, Liv, Lauren said softly, taking her daughter's hand. You deserve a little happiness and excitement in your life. Go on, enjoy yourself. Don't worry about me for one night. With tears in her eyes, Olivia hugged her mother. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Lying in bed that night, Olivia couldn't sleep. Her thoughts oscillated between looking forward to dinner with Nathan and guilt for allowing herself this moment of indulgence. Little did she know that this dinner would be the catalyst for a series of events that would change her life forever. As the night wore on and sleep finally enveloped her, Olivia couldn't imagine that her meeting with Nathan Hawthorne was just the beginning of a journey that would test her limits, challenge her convictions, and, perhaps, offer her a chance at happiness she had never dared to dream of. The next day went by in a blur for Olivia. Between her shifts at Cafe Evergreen and the preparations for dinner, she barely had time to process the anxiety and excitement bubbling in her chest. By 6:30 p.m., Olivia was standing in front of the mirror in her bedroom, putting the finishing touches to her appearance. She had chosen a simple but elegant navy blue dress that highlighted her green eyes. Her brown hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and a thin layer of makeup highlighted her delicate features. It was the first time in years that Olivia had dressed up for a date, and it felt both familiar and strangely new. You look lovely, darling, Lauren commented from the bedroom doorway. Her face lit up with a fond smile. Olivia turned around, feeling a twinge of guilt. Are you sure you'll be all right on your own, Mom? Lauren waved her hand in dismissal. Don't worry about me. I have my TV shows and my books. Besides, she added with a mischievous glint in her eyes, I can't wait to hear all the details when you get back. Before Olivia could reply, the doorbell rang. Her heart leapt. He's here, she muttered, more to herself than to her mother. With one last nervous glance at the mirror, Olivia picked up her bag and headed for the door. She took a deep breath before opening it, trying to calm her nerves. Nathan was standing on the other side, impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit that accentuated his blue eyes. He was holding a small bouquet of white lilies. Good evening, Olivia, he greeted, his gaze sweeping over her with obvious appreciation. You look stunning. Olivia felt her cheeks heat up. Thank you, Nathan. You look very elegant yourself. Nathan held out the flowers. I hope you like them. I thought they suited you. Simple but sophisticated. The gesture took her by surprise. It had been so long since anyone had given her flowers. They're lovely, thank you, she replied, genuinely touched. After saying goodbye to Lauren, who gave Nathan an approving look, Olivia found herself being led to an elegant black Audi parked in front of her building. I hope you like Italian food, Nathan commented, as he drove through the brightly lit streets of Portland. "I know a wonderful place downtown." The restaurant, as Olivia soon discovered, was an intimate establishment called La Luna Rosa. With soft lighting, live jazz music, and well-spaced tables, the atmosphere exuded romance and exclusivity. As they settled at a table overlooking the Willamette River, Olivia couldn't help but notice the curious glances from the other customers. Clearly, Nathan was a familiar figure there. "Do you come here often?" Olivia asked, trying to keep her voice casual as she perused the wine menu. Nathan smiled, a touch of melancholy in his eyes. "I used to, but in recent years, not as much as I'd like. Work has taken up a lot of my time." There was a pause while the sommelier approached to recommend wines. Nathan ordered a bottle of Brunello di Montalcino, after consulting Olivia with a look. "And you?" Nathan asked after the sommelier walked away. "How did you end up working in 2 restaurants?" Olivia hesitated for a moment, uncertain how much she should reveal. But something in Nathan's attentive expression encouraged her. "Well, it wasn't exactly the plan," she began, playing with the napkin in her lap. "I was at college, studying literature, when my mother became ill, multiple sclerosis. I had to give up my studies to look after her and pay the bills." Nathan listened attentively, his face a mixture of compassion and admiration. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "You're a very dedicated daughter." Olivia shrugged, uncomfortable with the compliment. "I did what anyone would do. My mother was always there for me. It was my turn to repay her." The conversation flowed naturally from then on. Olivia discovered that Nathan had grown up in Seattle, the only child of entrepreneurial parents. He talked about his passion for technology, which led him to found his own software company at the age of 25. Hawthorne Tech started in a garage, Nathan explained between mouthfuls of risotto. "In the early years, there were times when I thought everything would fall apart. But we persevered and, well, here we are." Olivia was fascinated. The determination and passion with which Nathan spoke about his work were captivating. But there was something else, a vulnerability that he occasionally let show. "What about your family?" Olivia asked, noticing that Nathan hadn't mentioned anyone other than his parents. A momentary silence fell over the table. Nathan took a sip of wine before answering. "I'm divorced," he finally said. 5 years ago. We don't have any children." Olivia felt a twinge of, what? Empathy? Curiosity? "I'm sorry," she offered gently. Nathan shook his head, a sad smile playing on his lips. "It's all right. Melissa and I, we just grew up in different directions. She wanted a quieter life. I was obsessed with making the company grow. In the end, we realized that we wanted different things out of life." Nathan's honesty touched Olivia. She found herself sharing more about her own life, her deferred dreams of becoming a writer, the sleepless nights caring for her mother, the small moments of joy she found in her job as a waitress. As the evening progressed, Olivia felt a connection growing between them. It was more than physical attraction. There was a mutual understanding, a recognition of souls that somehow identified with each other. After dessert, a tiramisu which they shared, giggling like teenagers, Nathan suggested a stroll along the riverside promenade. The fresh night air was invigorating after the cozy atmosphere of the restaurant. They walked side by side, their arms occasionally brushing against each other, sending goosebumps across Olivia's skin. "You know," Nathan began, his voice soft against the distant murmur of the city. "I can't remember the last time I had so much fun at a dinner party." Olivia smiled, feeling the heat rise to her cheeks. "Me too. Thank you for tonight, Nathan. It was special." They stopped, turning to each other. Nathan's eyes shone in the light of the street lamps, reflecting the city lights. Slowly, almost hesitantly, he leaned towards her. Olivia's heart raced. Part of her wanted to surrender to the moment, to let herself be carried away by the whirlwind of emotions she was feeling. But another part, the practical and cautious part that had dominated her life for the last few years, sounded an alarm. At the last second, Olivia turned her face slightly and Nathan's lips brushed her cheek. "Nathan, she began, her voice trembling. He pulled away, understanding immediately visible in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I was too hasty." "No, it's not that," Olivia hastened to say. "It's just, all this is new to me. My life is complicated and I need to take things slowly." Nathan nodded, a gentle smile on his lips. "I completely understand, and I respect that. We can go at your pace, Olivia. There's no rush." Relief flooded Olivia. "Thank you for understanding." They continued their walk. The previous tension dissipated, replaced by a deeper mutual understanding. They talked about books, movies, dreams for the future. Olivia discovered that, for all his wealth and success, Nathan had a vulnerable, dreamy side that few people knew about. When the time finally came for Nathan to take Olivia home, they both felt that something significant had changed. It wasn't just the promise of a new relationship, but the recognition that they had found someone who understood them in a way that few others could. Standing in front of Olivia's building, Nathan took her hands in his. "Can I call you tomorrow?" he asked, his voice full of hope. Olivia smiled, feeling a wave of happiness she hadn't experienced for years. "I'd love that." As she watched Nathan's car drive away, Olivia felt a mixture of emotions: excitement, apprehension, hope. She didn't know where this new journey would take her, but for the first time in a long time, she was eager to find out. Climbing the stairs to her apartment, Olivia paused, gazing out at the illuminated city from the hallway window. A soft smile played on her lips. Maybe, just maybe, the universe had other plans for her than endless double shifts and lonely nights. And for the first time in years, Olivia was ready to embrace the unknown. The next few weeks passed like a whirlwind for Olivia. Between her shifts at Cafe Evergreen and Sapphire, she found moments to meet up with Nathan. They were casual dinners, walks in the park, even an afternoon at the local art museum. Each encounter revealed new facets of Nathan that intrigued and attracted her even more. However, the reality of his life could not be ignored. On a particularly busy Wednesday, Olivia was running between the tables at Cafe Evergreen, balancing plates and forced smiles. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was Nathan, probably suggesting a lunch date. With a sigh, she ignored the call. Duty was calling. "Hey, Liv!" The voice of her colleague, Mia, snapped her out of her thoughts. "There's a guy at table 5 asking for you. Sounds important." Olivia frowned, confused. Who could that be? As she approached table 5, her heart leapt. It was Nathan, impeccably dressed in a navy blue suit, out of place among the cafe's casual customers. "Nathan, what are you doing here?" Olivia asked, surprised and a little embarrassed in her coffee-stained waitress uniform. Nathan smiled, his eyes twinkling. "Well, since you couldn't join me for lunch, I thought I'd bring lunch to you." He gestured to the bag beside him. "I hope you like sushi." Olivia felt a mixture of emotions: gratitude, embarrassment, and a twinge of irritation. "Nathan, that's very kind, but I'm in the middle of my shift. I can't just stop for lunch." Nathan's expression changed, a mixture of disappointment and understanding crossing his face. "Oh, I didn't think of that. I'm sorry, Olivia. I didn't mean to cause trouble." Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, Olivia felt her irritation melt away. "Look, my break is in 20 minutes. If you can wait, we can eat together outside." Nathan's face lit up. "Sure, I'll wait." 20 minutes later, Olivia joined Nathan on a bench outside the cafe. As they savored their sushi, she couldn't help but notice the curious glances of her colleagues through the window. "Sorry to sneak up on you," Nathan said between bites. "I guess I'm still learning to navigate all of this." Olivia smiled softly. "It's okay. It's just, my life is complicated, Nathan. I can't always drop everything for lunch or dinner." Nathan nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. And I really admire your dedication, Olivia. But—" He hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. "Have you thought about reducing your workload? Maybe focusing on just one job?" Olivia felt a twinge of discomfort. "It's not that simple. The bills don't pay for themselves, and my mother's treatment is expensive." "What if I could help?" Nathan offered, his voice soft. "Olivia, I have resources." I could easily cover your mother's medical expenses, give you a more comfortable life. Nathan, stop. Olivia's voice was firm, harder than she had intended. I appreciate the offer. I really do. But I can't accept it. It wouldn't be right. The silence that followed was tense, charged with unspoken emotions. Nathan was the first to break it. I'm sorry, Olivia. I didn't mean to offend. I just want to help. Olivia sighed, feeling the tension leave her shoulders. I know, Nathan, and I appreciate it, but I have to do it my way. Do you understand? Nathan nodded, an understanding smile on his lips. I understand, and I admire your strength all the more for it. The rest of the break passed in lighter conversation, but Olivia couldn't completely shake the feeling of unease. When they said goodbye, Nathan's kiss on her cheek seemed laden with unspoken promises. Back at work, Olivia found herself reflecting on her situation. Nathan's offer was tempting, a life without financial worries, without exhausting double shifts. But something inside her resisted. Was it pride, fear, or something deeper? That evening, when Olivia got home, she found her mother sitting in the living room, leafing through an old photo album. How was work, dear? Lauren asked, her face lighting up at her daughter's arrival. Olivia hesitated for a moment before sitting down next to her mother. It was interesting. Nathan showed up at the cafe today. Lauren raised her eyebrows, curious. Oh, and how was it? Olivia told her about the surprise lunch and the offer of financial help. Lauren listened intently, her eyes full of understanding. Olivia, Lauren began softly, taking her daughter's hand. You know I only want you to be happy, right? And if this man can offer you a chance to live out your dreams… Mom, Olivia interrupted gently. My dreams are no more important than your health or our well-being. Lauren smiled, a mixture of pride and sadness in her eyes. Oh, my dear, your dreams are part of your well-being. I don't want to be a burden that prevents you from living fully. Tears formed in Olivia's eyes. You've never been a burden, Mom. Never. They embraced, the love between mother and daughter palpable in the air. When they separated, Lauren held Olivia's face between her hands. Promise me something, Liv. Promise me that you won't give up on your dreams, that you'll give yourself a chance, and maybe Nathan too. Olivia nodded, feeling a lump in her throat. I promise, Mom. That night, lying in her bed, Olivia reflected on her life. She thought about her days at college, about the dreams of becoming a writer that she had kept in a dusty drawer in her mind. She thought of Nathan, of how he made her feel, alive, wanted, capable of more. With a determined sigh, Olivia picked up her phone and typed a message to Nathan. Sorry for the way I reacted today. Can we talk tomorrow? I have an idea I'd like to discuss with you. The reply came almost immediately. Of course, Olivia. I look forward to hearing it. How about coffee after your morning shift? Olivia smiled, feeling a surge of anticipation. Perfect. Good night, Nathan. Putting the phone away, Olivia closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream, not just of survival, but of possibilities, of a future that could be different, better. The next morning, Olivia woke up with a new determination. As she prepared for work, her mind was buzzing with ideas. Maybe it was time to get her writing dreams off the ground. Perhaps, with the right support, she could find a balance between caring for her mother and pursuing her own aspirations. As she left the house, Olivia took one last look at her mother, who was sleeping peacefully. I'm going to make you proud, Mom, she muttered to herself, and I'll be proud of myself too. With light steps, Olivia headed for Cafe Evergreen. The day ahead seemed full of promise, and for the first time in a long time, she was eager to see what the future held. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air of the small cafe in downtown Portland. Olivia, sitting at a corner table, drummed her fingers nervously on the cup in front of her. Her eyes alternated between the door and the clock on the wall. Nathan was late, something unusual for him. Just as he was starting to worry, the door opened and Nathan walked in, slightly out of breath and with his hair mussed by the wind. His eyes scanned the room until they met Olivia's, and a broad smile spread across his face. "Sorry I'm late," he said, taking a seat opposite her. "A last-minute meeting ran longer than expected." Olivia smiled, feeling the tension leave her shoulders. "It's all right. I'm glad you could make it." Nathan watched her for a moment, his blue eyes piercing. "So, you mentioned you had an idea to discuss." Olivia took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "Yes, actually, it's more like a proposal." She then shared with Nathan her thoughts from the last few days. She talked about her dormant dream of becoming a writer, about her desire to find a balance between caring for her mother and pursuing her own aspirations. "I've been thinking about your offer of help," Olivia continued, her voice gaining confidence as she spoke. "And while I'm still not comfortable accepting direct financial help, perhaps we can find a middle ground." Nathan leaned forward, clearly intrigued. "I'm listening." "What if—" Olivia hesitated for a second before continuing. "What if you helped me get a job in your company? Something that would allow me to have more flexible hours and maybe use my writing skills." Nathan's eyes lit up. "Olivia, that's brilliant. Actually, we were just looking for someone for our internal communications team. Someone to write our newsletter, corporate blog, that sort of thing. You'd be perfect." Nathan's enthusiasm was contagious, and Olivia felt a wave of hope rise up inside her. However, a shadow of doubt still hung over her mind. "But Nathan," she said, her voice softer now, "I don't want people to think I got the job just because well, you know." Nathan took her hands on the table, his touch warm and comforting. "Olivia, I understand your concern, but you're talented and capable. Let's do this the right way. You'll go through the selection process like any other candidate. If you get the job, it will be on your own merits." Olivia nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. "Okay," she finally said, a small smile playing on her lips. "Let's give it a try." The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity for Olivia. Between preparing her CV, studying for interviews, and continuing her shifts at the restaurants, she barely had time to breathe. But there was a renewed energy in her step, a glint of determination in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Lauren noticed the change in her daughter. One evening, while Olivia was going over some notes for her final interview, her mother came over and sat down next to her on the sofa. "You look happier, darling," Lauren commented, a soft smile on her tired face. Olivia looked at her mother, feeling a surge of emotion. "I am, Mom. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm on the right track." Lauren took Olivia's hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm so proud of you, Liv. I always knew you'd do great things." Her mother's words stayed with Olivia throughout the interview process. They sustained her when nervousness threatened to overwhelm her, reminding her of her strength and determination. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity of waiting, Olivia received the call that would change everything. She had got the job. The celebration that evening was small, but meaningful. Nathan took Olivia and Lauren to dinner at an elegant restaurant overlooking the river. As she watched her mother laughing at Nathan's joke, Olivia felt a wave of gratitude so intense that it almost suffocated her. However, reality soon set in. Olivia's new job was challenging, requiring her to dive headfirst into a corporate world that was completely foreign to her. The long hours in the office, although less physically exhausting than her old shifts as a waitress, were mentally draining. In addition, navigating her relationship with Nathan in the workplace proved to be more complicated than she had anticipated. Although they maintained a strictly professional demeanor in the office, the whispers and stares from their colleagues were hard to ignore. One particularly difficult afternoon, Olivia found herself locked in the office bathroom, fighting back tears of frustration. She had just left a meeting where her ideas for the corporate blog had been harshly criticized by one of the directors. "Maybe I'm not good enough for this," she muttered to her reflection in the mirror. Just then, her phone vibrated with a message from Nathan. "I saw that the meeting was difficult. Remember, you deserve to be here. I believe in you." The simple words brought a reluctant smile to Olivia's lips. She took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and left the bathroom with renewed determination. As the weeks turned into months, Olivia began to find her rhythm. Her writing skills, combined with her unique perspective as a former waitress, brought a new voice to the company's corporate blog. Slowly but steadily, she began to earn the respect of her colleagues. At home, things were also improving. With a more stable salary and more flexible hours, Olivia was able to spend more quality time with her mother. They even started planning a little trip to the coast, something that had seemed impossible just a few months earlier. However, not everything was perfect. As Olivia became more confident in her work and in herself, she began to notice small cracks in her relationship with Nathan. He sometimes seemed frustrated when she expressed opinions that differed from his in meetings, or when she chose to spend a quiet evening at home with her mother instead of accompanying him to a social event. One evening, after a particularly tense dinner, Nathan finally expressed what was on his mind. "Olivia," he began, his voice carefully controlled, "you know I love you, right?" Olivia nodded, feeling a knot forming in her stomach. "But sometimes," Nathan continued hesitantly, "sometimes I feel like you're still keeping your distance, like you don't fully trust me, us." The words hit Olivia like a punch. She wanted to protest, to tell him he was wrong. But a small voice inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, there was some truth in what Nathan was saying. Olivia began, her voice failing. "I just need time, Nathan. This is all new to me. New job, new life, new love." Nathan watched her for a long moment before nodding slowly. "I understand," he finally said, "and I'll give you all the time you need. Just don't forget to let me in, okay?" As she drove home that evening, Olivia found herself at an emotional crossroads. On the one hand, she was living a dream she had never imagined possible. On the other, she was facing new challenges and fears she had never anticipated. When she entered her apartment, she found her mother asleep on the sofa, a book open on her lap. Olivia smiled softly, covering Lauren with a blanket. At that moment, looking at her mother's serene face, Olivia made a silent promise to herself. She would face these new challenges head-on. She would learn to balance her new career, her relationship with Nathan, and her love for her mother. And above all, she would learn to trust in herself, in Nathan, and in the future they were building together. With a determined sigh, Olivia headed for her room. Tomorrow would be a new day, full of possibilities and challenges, and she was ready to face them, one step at a time. Autumn in Portland painted the city in shades of red and gold, a spectacle that Olivia often enjoyed. But that morning, as she hurried to her office, she barely noticed the beauty around her. Her mind was occupied with more pressing concerns. In recent weeks, Lauren's health had taken a turn for the worse. The symptoms of multiple sclerosis were intensifying, and Olivia found herself torn between the demands of her new job and the need to look after her mother. Although her job at Hawthorne Tech offered flexibility, she felt the weight of expectations, both her own and Nathan's, weighing heavily on her shoulders. Upon entering the elegant glass and steel building that housed the company's headquarters, Olivia was greeted by Samantha, her teammate. "Hey, Liv!" Samantha called out, a conspiratorial smile on her face. "I hear the big boss wants to see you. Any idea what that's about?" Olivia frowned in surprise. "Nathan wants to see me. He didn't mention anything." "Not Nathan," Samantha corrected, lowering her voice. "Richard Hawthorne, the CEO." Olivia's heart leapt. Richard Hawthorne, Nathan's father and founder of the company, was an almost mythical figure in the halls of Hawthorne Tech. Known for his innovative vision and demanding leadership style, he rarely interacted directly with lower-level employees. With a knot in her stomach, Olivia headed for the elevator. As she ascended to the executive floor, her mind raced with possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Or maybe it was about her relationship with Nathan. Richard's secretary led her to a meeting room with a panoramic view of the city. Inside, Richard Hawthorne stood looking out of the window. When he heard Olivia enter, he turned around, an enigmatic smile on his face. "Miss Brennan, please have a seat." He gestured to a chair. Olivia obeyed, trying to keep her composure. "Mr. Hawthorne, it's a pleasure to meet you." Richard watched her for a moment before speaking. "Mrs. Brennan, I'll come straight to the point. Your work here at Hawthorne Tech has been remarkable. Your fresh perspective has brought new energy to our corporate blog and our internal communications." Olivia felt a mixture of pride and apprehension. "Thank you, sir. I've been trying very hard." "Yes, I've noticed," Richard continued, his tone changing subtly. "I've also noticed your close relationship with my son." Olivia's heart raced. She opened her mouth to speak, but Richard held up his hand, silencing her. "Don't worry, I'm not here to judge your personal life. In fact, I've never seen Nathan so happy. However," he paused, his piercing eyes fixed on Olivia, "I've also noticed that you've been missing some important meetings lately." Olivia felt the blush creep up her neck. "Mr. Hawthorne, I can explain. My mother has been ill and—" "Miss Brennan," Richard interrupted her, his voice firm but not unkind. "I understand that you have responsibilities outside of work. We all do. But here at Hawthorne Tech, we expect excellence and commitment from all our employees, regardless of their personal connections." The words hit Olivia like a punch in the gut. She struggled to keep her composure, feeling a mixture of shame and indignation bubbling up inside her. "Sir, I assure you that I'm completely committed to my work here," she said, her voice trembling slightly. Richard watched her for a long moment before nodding slowly. "I'm sure you are, and that's why I have a proposal for you." Olivia held her breath, uncertain what to expect. "We're planning to open a new office in Seattle," Richard continued. "We need someone to lead our communications team there, someone with your perspective and skills. It would be a great growth opportunity for you." Olivia's mind was spinning. A promotion in Seattle? It was an incredible opportunity, but— "It's a generous offer, Mr. Hawthorne," she began carefully. "But my mother, she needs me here in Portland." Richard leaned forward, his eyes intense. "Ms. Brennan, I understand your concerns. But sometimes, in order to grow up, we have to make difficult choices. Think of it as an opportunity to prove your worth, not just to the company, but to yourself." With those words, the meeting ended. Olivia left the office feeling dazed, her emotions in turmoil. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Olivia tried to concentrate on her work, but her mind kept returning to Richard's offer and the implications it brought. At the end of the day, she found Nathan waiting for her in the lobby. "Hey," he smiled, giving her a soft kiss. "I heard my dad wanted to talk to you. Is everything all right?" Olivia hesitated for a moment before answering. "Yes, it is. He offered me a promotion." Nathan's eyes widened in surprise and then lit up with pride. "Olivia, that's incredible. Congratulations." "It's in Seattle," Olivia added quickly, watching Nathan's reaction. Nathan's smile faltered for a moment, but he recovered quickly. "Oh, well, that's unexpected. But still, it's a great opportunity, isn't it?" Olivia nodded, feeling suddenly exhausted. "Yes, it is. But Nathan, I don't know if I can accept it. My mother—" Nathan took her hands, his gaze intense. "Olivia, I understand your concern. But think about what this could mean for your career, for our future. I'm sure we can find a solution for your mother." Nathan's words, although well-meaning, provoked a twinge of irritation in Olivia. How could he talk so casually about finding a solution for his mother? "I need to think about it," she finally said, gently pulling away. "I'm going home now. I need to see how my mother is." Nathan looked like he wanted to say more, but held back. "Of course. Call me later." Olivia nodded distractedly and left, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. Arriving home, Olivia found Lauren sitting in the living room, leafing through an album of old photos. Seeing her daughter's worried expression, Lauren immediately realized that something was wrong. "What's wrong, darling?" she asked softly. Olivia collapsed on the sofa next to her mother, the tears she had been holding back all day finally overflowing. Between sobs, She told Lauren about the job offer, Nathan's expectations, and the dilemma she was facing. Lauren listened patiently, stroking Olivia's hair as she did when she was a child. When Olivia had finished, Lauren held her daughter's face between her hands. "Olivia, my love," she said, her voice full of emotion. "You have sacrificed so much for me. Maybe it's time to think about yourself." Olivia shook her head vehemently. "No, Mom. I can't leave you. You need me." Lauren smiled sadly. "I'll always need you, darling, but not at the expense of your dreams. This is an incredible opportunity for you." Her mother's words weighed heavily on Olivia. She knew Lauren was right, but the idea of leaving her, of moving to a new city, away from everything she knew, was terrifying. That night, lying in her bed, Olivia reflected on her life, on the choices she had made and the ones she still had to make. She thought about Nathan, about how their relationship had blossomed over the last few months, but also about the small tensions that had arisen. She thought of her mother, of everything she had sacrificed to take care of her. And she thought of herself, of the dreams she had put aside for so long. With a deep sigh, Olivia realized that she was at a crossroads. Any decision she made would change the course of her life irrevocably. Accepting the promotion would mean leaving her mother and testing her relationship with Nathan. Refusing could mean missing out on a unique opportunity for professional growth. As sleep finally enveloped her, Olivia knew that the next few days would be crucial. She would have to make a choice, not just about a job, but about the kind of life she wanted for herself. And, for the first time in a long time, she wasn't sure what that choice would be. The sun had barely risen when Olivia woke up, her eyes heavy from a bad night's sleep. The days following Richard Hawthorne's proposal had been an emotional roller coaster, leaving her exhausted and confused. Sitting at the kitchen table, a steaming cup of coffee between her hands, Olivia tried to organize her thoughts. The deadline for giving Richard an answer was approaching, and she still felt torn. The soft sound of footsteps interrupted her reveries. Lauren entered the kitchen, leaning on her cane, a gentle smile on her tired face. "Good morning, darling," Lauren said, sitting down carefully. "Another difficult night?" Olivia nodded, pushing a cup of tea towards her mother. "I can't stop thinking about all this, Mom. Every time I think I've made a decision, I start to doubt it again." Lauren took a sip of her tea before replying. "Olivia, do you remember that summer when you were 16 and you desperately wanted to go to that writing camp?" Olivia frowned, surprised by the change of subject. "Yes, of course. But I didn't go because you got sick and I didn't want to leave you alone." "Exactly," Lauren said, her eyes shining with a mixture of love and sadness. "And do you know what I regret most about that summer? Not making you go." "Mom." "No, listen to me," Lauren interrupted gently. "Olivia, you always put others first. You've always looked after me, sacrificed your dreams. But, darling, there comes a time when you need to live your own life." Lauren's words hit Olivia deeply. She felt tears forming in her eyes, but held them back. "But what about you, Mom? How am I going to look after you if I'm in Seattle?" Lauren smiled, taking Olivia's hand across the table. "There are options, honey. We can hire a nurse, or maybe I can move closer to you. The important thing is that you don't let this opportunity pass you by because of me." Before Olivia could reply, her phone vibrated. It was a message from Nathan. "Can we meet for lunch today? We need to talk." Olivia's heart raced. She knew she couldn't put off talking to Nathan any longer. "It's him, isn't it?" Lauren asked softly. Olivia nodded. "He wants to have lunch today. I think it's time to have a serious talk." Lauren squeezed Olivia's hand. "Go on, darling. Be honest with him and with yourself." Hours later, Olivia found herself sitting opposite Nathan in an elegant restaurant in the city center. The sophisticated atmosphere contrasted sharply with the palpable tension between them. "So," Nathan began, after the waiter had brought their orders, "have you made up your mind about my father's offer?" Olivia played with her fork, avoiding Nathan's gaze. "I'm still thinking, Nathan. It's a difficult decision," Nathan sighed, putting his cutlery aside. "Olivia, I know you're worried about your mother, but think about what this could mean for us. for our future together. Something in the way Nathan spoke made Olivia raise her eyes, a spark of irritation igniting in her chest. Our future? Nathan, we've barely talked about it. And now you're making plans for the two of us based on a decision I haven't even made yet. The surprise on Nathan's face quickly gave way to frustration. Olivia, I thought we were on the same page. I thought you wanted this as much as I did. Want what exactly, Nathan? Olivia asked, her voice rising slightly. A relationship where you and your father decide what's best for me? Nathan recoiled as if he had been slapped. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to support you, to give you an opportunity to grow. Grow in your own way, Olivia retorted. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe I have my own plans, my own dreams? A tense silence fell over the table. Olivia could feel the curious glances of the other customers, but at that moment, she didn't care. Nathan was the first to break the silence, his voice softer now. Olivia, I love you. I want a future with you. But I need to know if you want the same. Nathan's words weighed heavily on Olivia. She loved him too, of that she was sure. But was love enough? The last few weeks had exposed differences between them that she could no longer ignore. Nathan, Olivia began, feeling the tears she had held back for so long finally overflow. I love you too. But I can't be the person you want me to be. I can't just leave my life, my mother, everything I know, to fit into your plans. Nathan stared at her, the pain evident in his eyes. So that's it. You're choosing your life here in Portland over us. Olivia shook her head in frustration. It's not about choosing between you and my life here. It's about choosing to be true to myself. With those words, Olivia stood up, grabbing her purse. I'm sorry, Nathan, but I have to do this my way. She left the restaurant, the tears running freely down her face now. The crisp autumn air hit her, and she took a deep breath, feeling as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Walking through the familiar streets of Portland, Olivia reflected on the conversation with Nathan, on her mother's words that morning, on everything that had happened over the last few months. And for the first time in a long time, she felt clarity. When she arrived home, she found Lauren waiting for her in the living room. Oh, darling, Lauren said, opening her arms when she saw Olivia's tear-stained face. Olivia threw herself into her mother's arms, sobbing like a child. Lauren rocked her gently, murmuring words of comfort. After a few minutes, Olivia pulled away, wiping away her tears. Mom, I think I've made my decision. Lauren looked at her expectantly, a small smile on her lips. And what is that, darling? Olivia took a deep breath before answering. I'm going to turn down the offer in Seattle, but I'm also leaving Hawthorne Tech. Lauren's eyes widened in surprise. Oh, and what are you planning to do? A small smile formed on Olivia's lips. Remember that old dream I had about opening a bookstore? I think it's time I made it a reality, Lauren laughed, tears of joy in her eyes. Oh, Olivia, I'm so proud of you. That evening, sitting at her desk, Olivia began to sketch out her plans. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult. Starting her own business would be a challenge, especially while still looking after her mother. And the breakup with Nathan had left a void in her heart that would take time to heal. But for the first time in years, Olivia felt she was in control of her destiny. She was choosing her own path, following her own dreams. As the sun set over Portland, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Olivia looked out of the window and smiled. The future was uncertain, but it was full of possibilities, and she couldn't wait to see what came next. The bell on the door tinkled softly, announcing that another customer had entered the newly opened Pages Stories bookshop. Olivia looked up from the account book she was examining, an automatic smile forming on her lips. 6 months had passed since that decisive conversation with Nathan and the subsequent change in her life. The days that followed had been a mixture of intense emotions, frantic planning, and sleepless nights. But now, looking around her small but cozy bookshop, Olivia felt a surge of pride and satisfaction. The space, although modest, was exactly as she had always dreamed. Dark wooden shelves lined the walls, filled with carefully selected books. Comfortable armchairs were scattered around, inviting customers to lose themselves in a good book. In the background, a small cafe served hot drinks and snacks, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee permeating the air. "Hello, Ms. Brennan." A familiar voice snapped her out of her reverie. It was Mr. Thompson, a retired teacher who had become a frequent customer. "Did that poetry book I ordered arrive?" Olivia smiled, getting up to check the reserve shelf. "Yes, Mr. Thompson. It arrived yesterday afternoon. Let me get it for you." As she handed over the book and exchanged a few friendly words with Mr. Thompson, Olivia couldn't help but reflect on how her life had changed. The first few months after leaving Hawthorne Tech had been challenging. There were times when she questioned her decision, especially when the bills started piling up and the obstacles seemed insurmountable. But with each challenge overcome, with each small victory, Olivia felt her confidence grow. The local community embraced the idea of an independent bookshop, and soon, Paige's Stories became a meeting place for book lovers of all ages. The bell on the door jingled again, and Olivia looked up to see her mother, Lauren, entering the store. Over the last few months, Lauren's health had stabilized, and although she still needed care, she was stronger and more active than Olivia had seen her in years. "Hey, Mom!" Olivia smiled, stepping around the counter to help Lauren. "How was physio today?" Lauren smiled, her eyes shining with renewed energy. "It was great, honey. Dr. Martinez says I'm making remarkable progress." Olivia felt a wave of relief and gratitude. The decision to stay in Portland, although difficult at the time, had proved to be the right choice. Not only could she fulfill her dream of opening the bookstore, but she could also continue to care for her mother, watching her improve day by day. "How nice, Mom. How about some tea to celebrate?" As they made their way to the small cafe at the back of the store, Olivia noticed a man standing in front of the science fiction section. Something about him looked familiar, and when he turned around, her heart leapt. It was Nathan. For a moment, Olivia froze, a mixture of emotions flooding her. It had been months since she had seen him, not since that tense lunch where they had effectively ended their relationship. Nathan saw her at the same moment, and for a moment, they both stood still, staring at each other across the store. It was Lauren who broke the deadlock. "Olivia, darling, why don't you go and talk to him?" she whispered, giving her daughter a gentle push. With a deep sigh, Olivia walked across the store towards Nathan. As she approached, she noticed subtle changes in him. He seemed more relaxed, less formal than she remembered. "Hello, Nathan," she said softly when she got close enough. "Olivia," he replied, a small smile forming on his lips. "Your store. It's amazing. Exactly as you always described it would be." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat. "Thank you. I didn't expect to see you here." Nathan shrugged, a surprisingly casual gesture for him. "I heard about the store opening. I wanted to come and see for myself, to congratulate you." There was a moment of silence between them, laden with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. "How are you?" Olivia finally asked, genuinely curious. Nathan smiled, a softer, more sincere smile than she remembered. "I'm fine. In fact, I'm better than I've been in a long time. I've left my father's company." Olivia couldn't hide her surprise. "You what?" "Yes," Nathan laughed softly. "I think you inspired me, Olivia. I realized that I was living the life my father wanted for me, not the one I wanted for myself. So I decided to make a change." Olivia felt a surge of pride and affection for Nathan. "Wow, Nathan, that's incredible. What are you doing now?" "I'm working with an NGO that provides technology and education to underprivileged communities," he replied, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "It's challenging, but incredibly rewarding." They continued talking, the initial tension slowly dissipating. Olivia told Nathan about the challenges and joys of opening the bookstore, about her mother's improved health. Nathan talked about his new career, about the lessons he had learned in recent months. As they talked, Olivia felt a sense of peace settle over her. The resentment and hurt she hadn't realized she still carried began to dissipate. In its place came an appreciation for the role Nathan had played in her journey, and gratitude for the person she had become as a result of her experiences. When Nathan finally said goodbye, promising to come back for some books, Olivia found herself smiling genuinely. She watched as he left the store, the bell tinkling softly with his departure. Lauren approached, putting an arm around her daughter. "Is everything all right, sweetheart?" Olivia nodded, surprised by the truth in her words. "Yes, Mom. Everything's fine." That evening, after closing the store, Olivia went upstairs to the small apartment she had rented above the bookstore. Sitting down at her desk, she opened her laptop and began to write. The words flowed easily, telling the story of a young waitress whose life is transformed by an unexpected encounter. As she wrote, Olivia reflected on her journey. She had faced challenges, made difficult decisions, and in the process, discovered an inner strength she didn't know she possessed. Her life had not turned out exactly as she had imagined. It was, in many ways, more complicated and unpredictable than she could ever have anticipated. But looking out of the window at the city lights, Olivia felt a deep sense of contentment. She had found her path, not the one others had laid out for her, but the one she herself had chosen. And although the future was still uncertain, she would face it with courage, determination, and an open heart for the possibilities that would come. With a smile, Olivia turned her attention back to the computer screen. There was a story to be told, and she couldn't wait to see where this new adventure would take her. As the first lights of dawn began to illuminate the Portland sky, Olivia finally closed her laptop. She had been writing all night, lost in the flow of words and memories. Stretching, she walked over to the window and looked out onto the street below, where her bookstore awaited the start of another day. A sense of peace and purpose enveloped her. Olivia knew there were many chapters yet to come in her story, challenges to be faced, dreams to be pursued, loves to be experienced. But now, for the first time, she felt truly ready to write them, one page at a time. With a smile, she turned to start her day, eager to see what the next chapter would bring.